my hand to the Lord God Most High, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will take nothing from a thread to a sandal strap, and that I will not take anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich. Now what's funny is I almost guarantee you, in our modern day Christianity, if we were in that position, we would have taken the money and we would have said, see how God blesses us? Mm-hmm. Why do we do that? Now, what I'm saying is, why would we take things, doesn't have to be money, but let's just call them things or accolades or whatever, that clearly we shouldn't, but we take it anyway, and then we try to justify it by putting it off on God.
Because we want our wants and our desires. And if we put it off on God, it makes it right.
Are our wants and desires that powerful?
But sometimes it don't be God.
Sometimes it don't be God.
You said our wants.
Wait,
and
yeah,
desires
wait.
are powerful.
What do you think is not God?
I mean, like if you just happen to find the wallet.
No, I'm not saying that.
Fine, JJ.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something that fell off the truck or supposedly is on the truck. But, you know, they went out of business, so they just own the truck, selling it off.
Or you're afraid
Okay, well,
of
that's illegal.
Ah!
But there are some things that are not illegal,
Mhm.
but you still tried to say that that's not right.
Such as?
Like, I was at the grocery store and I went out to the parking lot and it was like, if like there's $50 on the ground and I look around and I don't see nobody.
Okay, but does the $50 have a name on it?
No.
No, so what can you do with it?
Stick it on and say thank you God.
Okay, alright. That's not what I'm talking about.
But clearly if it's someone else's, then no, that's not a blessing.
Or what if
Well-
you seen the person that dropped the $50?
Now,
Okay, well, that, yeah.
then you're,
You'll
then
say
you're wrong.
something.
Right.
But there are Christians who would say, that evil individual over there, what God meant for evil, God made for good. It fell into my good hands, I'm taking it, and I'm walking off with the
Or
blessing.
your friend you went to college with just happened to be working at the grocery store, she's bringing every other item.
Hey.
And you see it.
And you're making the statement, I am suddenly blessed.
That's not a blessing.
No, it's not a blessing.
Yes.
If it's wrong, if it comes,
Ill-gotten gains.
yes, ill-gotten gains. Everybody understand ill-gotten?
Yes.
If it's wrong, it's wrong. That's not a blessing. Yes.
But
That's
there
a
were
proverb.
specific
Ill-gotten gain, we
times,
preached
there
on
were
it. That's-
specifically times where God said like, kill everybody or take this but not this. He was specific about what to do and the reasons why.
All right, so if we are going to understand what Abram is doing here, this is actually an act of faith. Do you know why this is an act of faith? What was Abram told about his journey and going?
He's going to make his a great nation.
He's going to make him a great nation, going to make him a name.
You're gonna get everything, how much, something.
Well, God told him he was going to
Provide.
bless him. He was going to bless him. He was going to take care of him. So Abram understands that what I'm not going to do is go through this thing where someone like the king of Sodom is going to be able to say, I made you rich. Now, what is the difference between this and what happened in Egypt?
What verse we on? I'm sorry.
We are verse 22 of chapter 14.
You said what happened in Egypt when they left and took all their stuff?
Yes, when Pharaoh gave him all of this stuff,
He gave it to them.
huh?
Well,
What's the difference?
he told them they could take it.
No, there wasn't
I
that.
told them they're gonna give you all the stuff. They're gonna give you
They
everything.
didn't,
Well-
God didn't give, tell the Egyptians that they were gonna, Well, it wasn't given by God.
You're talking about when
When-
Pharaoh
Oh, he
gives
said
him
when
all
The
stuff.
gold and all the stuff were to
Because-
leave because of Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh, you talking about that,
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the difference between, okay, so everybody remembers Abram is on his way down, going on this journey, and there's a famine in the land. He ends up in Egypt. He lies and says that this woman is my sister, his half lie, but not my wife, right? And then when he leaves, Pharaoh gives him all of this stuff. Why doesn't Abram go, I've raised my hand to the Most High God that I will not take anything from you, so you won't say that you have made me rich?
Well, for one, he didn't do anything for Pharaoh.
No, he didn't. What was Pharaoh's situation?
Pharaoh was messed up because God did something to the household.
And what did Pharaoh say to Abram?
What did you do, man?
What have you done to me? Pharaoh recognized that God was getting him.
So when he was trying to
Pharaoh's
get his way out
gifts
of it,
to Abram was actually a gift to satisfy the
Abram.
God
yes.
that Abram had protecting him. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the difference being that what he received from Pharaoh was what God had intended. What the king of Sodom is trying to do here is something man is trying to do. That makes sense? So what you have to understand is when you are presented with the opportunity to receive something or whatever the case may be, ask yourself the question, is it from God or is it not? And you know if it is, and you know if it isn't. And if it's not, don't try to make it from God. So, if any of you cross the state line and go to that place with the lights where you put that money in the machine and push that button and it rings up and you hit, I'm telling you, don't bring it back here. Don't. Don't. That's ill-gotten gain.
I still don't understand why gambling.
Gambling is not entertainment. In order for you to win,
Someone has,
what has to happen?
You gotta put some money in the machine.
no,
Wrong.
So, someone has to lose.
A lot of people have to put money in the machine.
Okay, question.
Mhm.
So, the job that I have, when they interview several people, I get the, so in order for me to get the job, someone doesn't get it. So how is that different?
It's different because how many positions do you have?
I mean, I'm just saying, like, if any of us interview for a job, other people are
Again,
interviewing for it.
how
right?
many positions are there?
A lot.
All right, no.
Or,
In her case, there's one position. All right, now, does the job need to be filled? Does the company need someone?
yes,
Is it legitimate work?
yes,
Is the company gonna pay them for legitimate work?
yes.
Is the person that doesn't get the job, are they paying to try to get the job?
No,
Are they shooting dice for the job?
They bought a suit and some shoes.
That's a part of work.
but no, they didn't apply it. But I mean, I'm just saying it's still chance.
It's not.
But you're saying
No,
you're actually
no,
casting
no.
lots.
Yes.
You're actually,
Gambling,
Yeah.
and there's, look. My mother-in-law told me she had this preacher that was her pastor a couple of years ago at the church she was at, made the statement when they gave him on his anniversary, they gave him, money, that he was on his way up 75.
what?
Then what the
Go
pastor
gamble.
said?
Yeah, the pastor said that.
Go gamble.
He was on his way to gambling. All right, so here's one of those desire things. He desired to gamble. I could sit here all day long and have him in here with me, and I could prove to him, that's a sin. Do you know what he would say to me? No, man, the Lord blessed me with that money. I'm blessed. That's what he would say. Because she said that's what he said from the book. Lord done blessed me with that, I'm up 75. and see what else he's gonna bless me with. Wrong.
Mm.
Wrong. And then here's the other thing. Is that good stewardship?
No. No.
There's no way to justify it. It's not good stewardship. So if you're a good steward of what God has given you, gambling is wrong. Now, there's people in this church that gamble. That's your business. And people always bring up the stock market. Here's the,
What about the lottery?
it's gambling. It's the same thing.
But it pays into the education.
That's beautiful. Okay, so I am, but it's not, that's beautiful. I am part Shawnee Indian, and in order to have a casino, you have to go to an Indian reservation. And that money that they make, those millions, go to the reservation. And it does a lot for them. However, what you do with your money is where the problem lies. Does that make sense? Right? And the stock market. Again, here is another thing. The stock market is supposed to be a what? An investment in a what?
Company.
In a company.
Right.
When we're not playing options.
You're investing. Because here's the thing. If I go out and build a hot dog stand, now it may or it may not be successful.
Right.
There is a risk involved. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to legitimately do business. When you're investing in a stock, you're investing in a company, it's legitimate, right? It's legitimate. Now, can it be risky? Very risky. And you could invest in the stock market, play options, do all of those things, and ask yourself a question. Am I being a good steward? And the answer might be no. The answer might be no. Because if I invest in a company per se, let's say I'm gonna invest in a company that says they're gonna come up with a drug that will cure everything.
Okay.
A pill's gonna cure everything.
Okay.
And they're it's 15 cents a share right now. And I go, yeah, I'm gonna buy 1 million of these at 15 cents a share. And once that drug is made and comes out, my shares will be worth
$1 million.
Gosh, $1 million a share. It cures everything. What's the likelihood of that drug actually curing everything or there being one?
Slim to none.
None. Okay. Now, am I being a good steward there? It would be no difference in somebody coming to me saying, let's start a business. Okay, what do you want to start? We're going to make buggy whips. Yes. For horses, buggy whips. How many buggy whips do you think are needed?
No, about 10.
Not a good thing, right?
Tesla.
Don't get him started.
Sorry, that's not what I share. But like cannabis, like we didn't allow, like a lot of cannabis stocks we don't allow to be traded. But a lot of people are investing in that. And some pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, as they make it more and more legal and do all of those things, again, for me, I look at it, I say, okay, are you being a good steward? And on the flip side too, you can invest in something unrighteous.
Yes.
Strip clubs make money.
Right.
Now, do I need to go invest in one as a Christian?
You might be a good steward though.
See, here's the part that settles it all. Whatever you are doing with your money or whatever the case may be, if you can take Jesus along with no problem, go right ahead. So if I'm gonna go and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna get me a strip club. And I'm gonna bring Jesus in there and say, look what I got going on here. And it's making money, Lord. Mm.
Turning into a church.
So it's really simple. It's that old thing that Marla would tell the new hires when they came into IBM. if you get up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you say to yourself, I'm not sure, then don't. Then don't. If the clothes, if you're not sure, don't wear it. All right. So, Abram has said that he's not going to take anything because he doesn't want the king of Sodom to say, you've made me rich, because God has already told him that he's going to take care of him. So verse 24, except only what the young men have eaten and the portion of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portions. And all he's saying is, reimburse me for the costs. That's all he's saying. Just reimburse me for the cost of going to war. That's it. Just the food. All right, so chapter 15. After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward. Now, it's interesting that this comes after Abram goes through what he's been through, because if you look at what that says, he says, I'm your shield. But what did he say? What did he say at the end?
Your very great reward.
Your great reward. God is your great reward. Okay. Question, is God enough?
Yes, he
Should be.
That is the theological, biblical, and beautiful Christian answer. How many Christians believe that?
All day long.
You're an exception.
Well, I know, I'm not saying everybody in here, I know.
Not all,
All of you in here believe.
not all of them.
No, I know all Christians don't believe that because they think God is an ATM machine. If something doesn't go right, God is not good anymore. If they don't get what they want, God is not good anymore. So,
They haven't realized that they're here for him and not for themselves.
if God is how is God a great reward?
Because he's everything we need. And he's giving us eternal life. He's saving us from damnation.
He's everything we need, but I couldn't pay my light bill. Where was he? Because you know that
You
happens.
survived in the dark.
Your answers are wonderful. But for most Christians, they stop right there. Where was he? Well, you survived in the dark. Why did I have to get dark in the first place?
You weren't-
Why? What makes him a great reward?
He's looking at the long-term view of things. He's looking at what we need in order to properly steward and to minister and to be ministers of reconciliation.
Okay, so you went the evangelism route with it. Okay, I can follow that.
But
Um,
even if you were in the dark, he was with you. How is he a great reward?
How is God a great reward?
Is he a great reward for those who function within his will? Is that it?
I mean,
If you choose it, you get to live after this life.
bingo!
What?
That's the most important thing there, right there. See, one of the problems we have as Christians, we do not have an eternal perspective. Too many Christians are trying to live life with a misunderstanding. The misunderstanding is this is not all there is. This goes to the whole question of evil. Why do bad things happen? People ask this question all the time. My answer to that is real simple. If your theology is right, you'll understand this. Here's your theology on that. God is eternal. Guess what he's already done? Taking care of evil.
Yes.
I'm in time. I'm walking through it. Why is there evil? Because we have a will. That's why there's evil. All right? But he's my great reward because I know at the end of the day, in spite of all of the evil, in spite of everything that goes on in the world, in spite of all of those things that I don't like, when it's all said and done, I'm only going to be here that long compared to eternity. Those of us that have our salvation, he is a great reward because for what will be in eternity, we'll have life. But for everyone else, they will have damnation. And there is a major difference because there's no party in hell. or the lake of fire, right? So it's one of those things where when you see this, when he says, I am your great reward, he's not just talking to Abram, he's talking to all of us. I am your great reward. I am the one that's going to give you eternal life. I can live this life a lot better with less stress if I know where I'm going. When I forget where I'm going, I get into trouble.
That's why we're supposed to fix our eyes on Jesus.
Exactly. How do we run this race? You fix your eyes at the end of the race on Christ. That's the way you run in track anyway. You always look at the finish line. And if you ever watch a track meet, if you ever see anyone look to the left or to the right, they slow down. Keep your eyes fixed ahead. All right, so verse 2, but Abram said, Lord God, what will you give me, seeing I go childless, and the heir of the house is Eliezer of Damascus, the heir of my house. So here's where we look at the father of faith having some weakness in his faith. He can't pay his light bill all of a sudden. Because he's like, hold on, you said you were going to make me a great nation, which means I got to have a child. I got a wife who is past the age of having children. She's gone through menopause, and now I'm going through all of this stuff. I'm out here. I'm looking at this land that you're showing me that I'm not going to possess, but I still ain't got no child. I understand you're my great reward, but what you going to give me here? Okay, so here's the thing. What's wrong with Abram? Because he's fundamentally, this is what happens with us in faith. What's wrong with him?
Thinking about the now.
He's got a lack of faith. Why?
He's being realistic.
You say he's being realistic?
I mean, from a humanistic perspective.
Okay, so when God first said, go and I'm going to do all these things, do you think Abram believed it?
Yeah.
No.
So what?
Oh, yeah.
You don't? He had to or he wouldn't have gone. So, but what happened?
What we all started doing, when it doesn't come to pass quick enough,
He
we
took his
started
eyes
down.
off God
There it
and
is.
started looking left and right.
Left and right, he took his eye, and it's exactly what she said. See, we want God to be a microwave. Do it in my time.
Mhm.
Do it in my time. You need to do it in my time. Lord, do this while I'm young enough to enjoy it. Make it right now. Fix it now. Do it now. We pray like that. And we pray like that. Lord, now! When we get loud with him. Right now, Father, right now. What would you do if your kid came running in there and said, I want to go to McDonald's now! Right now! Right now! Do it now! Give it to me now!
Oh, don't give it to him.
Now, if you're going to take them, you've probably figured out when you're going to take them. You ever told your child you're going to take them someplace and it's not right now?
Oh, Lord. That's the
Then what
worst.
ends up happening?
Where we going?
You can't even tell them when you're going to take them
Or there is.
because they're still, if they're excited about it, all right, is it time?
Can we go now?
Trinity didn't get a concept of time until she was about 12.
Oh, Lord.
Literally. It used to be, okay, when she was little, it'd be like, okay, Trin, 2 SpongeBob's. When you get through 2 SpongeBob shows, we're gonna go. And that's the only way I could get her to, to deal with the time. And then it was like, okay, we're gonna leave in about 30 minutes. 5 minutes later, is it 30 minutes?
Wow.
Come on, you're 10 years old. You can look at the clock and figure it out. Her concept of time didn't come around until she was, I don't know why, but it just did not click with her until she was about 12 years old. That was so frustrating for me. I mean, the only thing I can say is we're going tomorrow. And if I said tomorrow afternoon, that would throw her off because she'd get up in the morning going, when? I said sometime this afternoon. I'll let you know when. That didn't resonate with her. God says to us, I will do A, B, or C.
Right.
What God doesn't do, God just doesn't really tell us when he's going to do whatever he's going to do. He usually doesn't. And there's a reason for that, but yeah.
Okay, so the good stuff, so you're talking about McDonald's and other stuff, so the good stuff okay,
Stuff that makes it inside, yeah.
I'm okay, because I know God and his timing, but when your child is in pain, that's the problem I have with God, because if my child is in pain, I'm moving everything to stop it. And for me, I just feel like he's like, because, and it's not necessarily physical pain, and I get the, oh, it'll be so much better after we go to heaven. Cue the violins, I get it. But, I mean, sometimes it's just kind of like, really? You know, like how, and you know, and I know a lot of people go through a lot of things, but that's the concept. It's kind of hard when your child is in pain because, and he doesn't move as quickly, because when my child is in pain, it's right now.
Right.
I'm moving everything, and it
Me
just
too.
doesn't seem like he does it.
Right.
That's all, me too. Here's the thing, okay, so, again, this goes back to, let's look at who we're talking about when we talk about God. Do you think he feels empathy?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so you feel empathy for your child, I feel empathy for mine. Question, and this, I think this will kind of put this in order for us. Who in here has been through pain? Let's just say physical.
Yes.
You've been through, and I know you ladies are thinking about childbirth. I don't want to go through childbirth. I won't do that one. Just pain, especially when you were young as a child. Anybody ever broke something, skin a knee, whatever? You know, when a child skins a knee, what do? You pick them up, you hug them, do all those things. All right. So if you tell a child, don't touch the pot. Y'all heard me Sunday talking about the iron. Sometimes one of the best ways to learn is to go through some pain.
Right.
Sometimes God allows pain in order to teach us.
Right.
And as a parent, you'll have to admit sometimes the pain was good. Because that was the only way your child was going to learn something. Now, am I saying that every pain, I can't explain every pain and everything that goes on. If I could, I would be God. This is where faith comes in. I have to trust him in knowing more than me, like I know more than my child. Right? How many times has your child said why and you said because I said so? Because if I tried to explain this to you, it would mean nothing. Right? What do you tell the 4-year-old that wants to eat cake and candy instead of dinner? Oh, it'll stunt your growth. Oh, it's not good for you. What's the 4-year-old thinking? It tastes good. Good for me how? Growth what? Stunt what? None of those things mean it. I just want the cake. So after a while, you just like, shut up and eat what I tell you. Because later on, you'll look back and be glad that I did. Right? So when we understand from the perspective of God being sovereign, if he's all-knowing, and if he loves me, there are going to be some things that take place that I won't understand. And what he's saying to me is, have faith. All things work together for good for those. That's where you got to hold on some of this stuff.
And some things are consequences of our disobedience.
True, there's consequences that create pain, right? But things happen, and you know, you say to yourself, I mean, you know, a child dying, I've lost 2. Right? I lost twins, week apart. And, you know, for a long time, I was like, well, Lord, I don't understand. I don't understand. I still don't understand. But what I do know is they're in heaven. I know that much. And I did what I should have done. We named them. We did that. So, but for a long time, it was really hard for me and Adrian to just fathom why. But at the end of the day, God is sovereign. God knows what he's doing. God had his reasons. And I am sure that it has helped us in some way, shape, or form to having have gone through that, right? I know for Adrian, she's real empathetic with whenever she finds out someone's had a miscarriage or gone through something like that. She knows.
So
She's
it
very
goes
empathetic
back
with
to
it.
kind of what you described like long ago with the parade, like him having the perspective of before it happens, the beginning, the middle, the end, and we're marching in sequence, but he can see all of it.
All
So
of
he can see us getting either past the pain, or he can see us eventually, he knows when we are joining him in heaven, and we'll be beyond that, so.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm
He
saying.
sees everything at once. He knows what we don't know. So therefore, and then he put it together. He wrote the story. So live it out, and just believe, wait and see. I mean, think about Peter. Probably one of the worst experiences in Peter's life was to deny Christ. Had to be. Broke his heart. But Jesus is calling him Peter. Before he does this, he says, upon this rock, Peter, right? I'm going to build my church. Peter. And that wasn't his name. His name was Simon. Peter was his nickname. Stone. You are a stone. Peter wasn't a stone. Jesus was looking at what he was going to become. He was looking at the guy who, at the end of his life, was going to sit there, watch his wife be crucified for believing. And then when they came to him and said to him, we're going to crucify you, he said, hey, I'm not worthy to be crucified like that. Turn me upside down and crucify me that way. That's who Jesus was looking at. He wasn't looking at the one who was always putting his foot in his mouth and who would claim, I'll never leave you, and then deny him 3 times, right? So God sees us as what we're going to become, right? What we have to understand is that what we are right now is not what we will be, but that he's got a purpose. He's got his plan. We're a part of it, but it's his purpose and his plan, and we are not the center of his universe. He is the center of his universe. And I think that's where Christians kind of get off base, is because we look at God as basically we're the center of the universe, and God is there. We're gonna cause him to move and do what we want him to do. No, that's not faith. Faith says, I trust you. No matter what, no matter how it looks, no matter if things don't go like I want, I'll tell you what I want. If I don't get it, I trust you that that's not what I needed. That's faith, right? So, Abram has asked this question about going childless, and Eleazar is one of his servants. So he's like, it's Eleazar's my top guy here, so it's going to go there. Verse 3, then Abram said, look, you have given me no offspring. Indeed, one born in my house is my heir. The one who's born in my house, that's the heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, this one shall not be your heir, but one who will come from your own body shall be your heir. So here God is again telling him something. Okay? So, God isn't Madam Cleo. Y'all know who Madam Cleo is. Y'all do know who Madam Cleo is. Some of y'all looking blank. Madam Cleo, you looking blank. You call the number, and then she's one of the psychics. All right. So God is not a psychic. God is the only person that can say, this is it and it is.
Yeah.
Right? So if God says it, it should be so. All right. So notice what he said. God said, it will come from your own body. Then he brought him outside and said, look, now watch what God says here. Look now toward heaven and count the stars if you are able to number them. And he said to him, so shall your descendants be. So shall your descendants be. That's a lot of people. They're going to be, because you can't count the stars. You can't. And what he's saying is, you won't be able to count it. There's going to be so many. And he believed in the Lord, and he accounted to him for righteousness. And there verse 6 is. And he believed the Lord. Now, here's what faith is. You can't have faith in what's already happened. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You don't have faith because it's happened. You have faith, and look, in hope for. Your faith in God says if God has said something, then it's going to happen. Period. Between now and it happening, I may not know what's going to transpire, but and how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. We don't like the fact that God won't tell us how and when. In fact, we even tell God, well, that's the goal. Can I have a couple of, let's have some check-ins along the way. So when this happens, I know I'm getting closer. And when that happens, then I get a little closer. And when that happens over there, kind of like the way if you travel to work every day, you have your landmarks, right? You know, when I get here, I've got this far to go. When I get here, I've got this far to go. And we want God to do that. We want God to tell us, go down, 114 and past this and past that building, and then there you are. And God says, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'll just tell you, this is it. Yes, ma'am.
But see, I feel like God doesn't even, there's very few things that he's promised us. We make up a lot of things that he's promised us. But there's he'll take care of us. He'll never leave us nor forsake us. We'll go to heaven.
Stop there.
That's it.
Stop there. Okay. Now, just go with those.
And I'm fine with that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, just go with those. But if you think about it, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
What about all
That's
the
a lot.
blessings of in Deuteronomy, where it goes through, I give you a blessing, I present before you a blessing and a curse. And
Right.
it goes through all of that.
Yeah, and what I say with Deuteronomy is it was directly written to the Israelites, showed them a lot of stuff. The principle, I still look at it the same way. I look at blessing as what it means, happiness. As a Christian, here's a funny thing. As a human being, what does every human being want?
To be happy.
To be happy. That's a promise God says you can't have. Period. The problem is we think that things make us happy. The Christians are real bad about it. We are so bad about that. We come to church screaming, God's going to bless me with.
Yeah.
And it's like, why hasn't God blessed you, period? Does God have to give you something to bless you? All God has to do is touch your heart. And you'll be so happy you won't know what to do with yourself. Right? I mean, I told y'all, some of the happiest people I know don't have much. My grandfather was happy to sit out on the porch and stare. Every day. I even asked him when I was about 14 or 15, Granddaddy, why do you sit here all day? He said, just looking. It's Greenville, Texas. It's Jones Street. There's a few people walk up and down and wave at you. But I'm like, but Granddaddy, that there's nothing to observe. He said, just look at the sky sometimes. Look at the trees. I'm like, you do this every single day. And I'm like, and that, you like that? He says, God made that sky. God made those trees. God made my eyes. I can sit down. I can get up. Now, my grandfather was like 90 years old. So he was happy about that. He said, when I get ready to go pay my bills, I walk into town, which he did at 90. He walked a mile into town, paid the bills, and walked back home, and he was happy. He was happy. And, I mean, it was hard for me to understand, because I'm thinking, you got to get some stuff and do some things, and he was happy. He was happy with God being God. Right? So God can make us happy. That's a promise. I'll never leave you or forsake you is a beautiful promise. You know when that promise really comes into play? When something catastrophic happens. That's when it really comes into play. I'll never leave you or forsake you. Someone dies, someone gets sick, someone goes to the hospital, something happens to you. I'll never leave you or forsake you, right? And so when you have those types of things, that promise in and of itself, you're never alone. But here's the funny part. You still have to believe that.
Right.
If you don't believe it, or if you think he's left, that's on you, right? And I know I'm not saying it's easy. Faith is two hardest things I think that we deal with is faith and forgiveness. I'm talking about us forgiving, right? Faith and us forgiving. Those are the two hardest things we do. I'll put a third one in there. Accepting God's grace. We think we got to do something for God. It just don't work unless I work for it. Doesn't make any sense that God would just, we got too many, I need to understand why. Where God says, no, I need you to shut up and take this ride. Right? Just ride. Just get in the car and ride.
And he shows himself faithful. He really does. Throughout
Absolutely.
his life. Even while he was waiting, even while Abram was waiting, he still showed himself faithful to what he was saying.
Abram's problem with this whole question here is this. Had anything happened in Abram's life up to this point to prove to him that God was faithful?
Yes.
The Egypt thing.
Yeah.
If nothing else, that right there should have laid it out for him. You came out of Egypt with more than you went in there with, even though you were being disobedient to me. I told you I would get you where, and you got there. And then you come up with this. So, here's what happens with us. How many of y'all can sit here and actually say, you know for a fact, God has done something for you before? Oh, okay, she shook her head out for a minute there. I was looking. So you know God has done something for you before. Okay, so is he capable of doing something for you again?
Yes.
He is. Doesn't have to. No, he does not. That's the part you got to give up and say, that's up to him and his sovereignty as to what he's going to do. But what I do know is he is able to, and if he doesn't do something that I would like him to do, he's got a reason for not doing it that I may not understand, but I know it's better for me. Whenever I should say whenever, because I punish a little different. But whenever Trinity gets punished sometimes things happen with her that she will come to me because her mama said, you can't have like the phone thing. You can't have this phone for a month. Trey come to me, a whole month for that? And I'm sitting here going, yeah, kind of stiff, ain't it? But a whole month? A month? Kind of stiff, ain't it? But you know what? I bet your room will be clean after this month is up. Room been clean ever since. Right? Been clean ever since. She didn't understand it. And when I say she struggled, because it was phone and TV for a month. You talk about a struggle. The girl was walking around the house like this.
Like, what am I supposed to do with myself?
That's exactly what she said. What am I supposed to do with myself? Read a book? Read a book? Well, I don't know. Go look at yourself. Is your room, and I tell her, is your room clean? She thought she was going crazy.
So in 2004, Brenton and I we were in Michigan.
Look at his face, like, really? You gonna put me in the story?
And like, no, this is because he probably remember, he probably don't. But I woke up and I was really, really hurt. And whether I was in a dream or whether it was a vision, I don't know. But what I did know is that I had this little boy in my hand. And I was just so hurt because I woke up and I was just looking around for the little boy because I kept looking. I'm like, who is your father? Because I was like, this little boy has little itty bitty eyes, and I'm like, my eyes ain't little. And I was like, who is your father? And I was like, this is crazy. And Brent was like, what's wrong, Mom? I was like, my feelings are hurt because I held this little boy and I know he's mine, but where is he? And I woke up because it was so real. but he wasn't
Oh,
there.
I thought the little boy was him, and I'm like, I don't
But-
understand. This timeline don't match.
But that's what I'm saying. Here we go, 15 years later, and this little boy shows up. You know what I'm saying? This is, cause I would've never, I'm like, little itty bitty eyes.
And you were asking what?
I was just like, sometimes.
No,
you
you
have-
said, where's his?
Where's his father?
Who is his father?
Who is his father? That's what I was like, who's his father? Cause I thought it was
She
mine.
put her kids on me.
Yeah, I said all of it.
Oh, okay.
All like the two boys that I seen two boys back to back. And they were just curly hair. I just seen the back of their heads and they were wrestling, but I knew they would come back to back, like they were just born like back to back. And the other one I knew was really light and he had little itty bitty eyes, and that's all I knew. And I was just telling him, he was just like, oh,
Ain't you better hope she don't have no more dreams.
God was gonna give her all these boys.
Don't
She
have
no
God
children.
was telling me I'm gonna have all these boys, I'm gonna have all these boys.
And there was
10 years
grandkids.
later, I'm gonna have all these boys.
You just didn't understand they were gonna be
It was
grandsons.
they
grand.
were grandsons,
Yeah.
but then
Brent.
I knew I had 4 boys as well, and then
I'm saying.
I had the one, but Philip came with 3. And those are the 4 boys that I knew I was gonna have, but the ones that I seen in the spirit were his. And I seen another child.
You done seen another one?
So,
Grant.
these are,
You gonna have 20
okay,
kids.
so, here's some funny things about, you know, a lot of people don't have amazing things like that happen. But here's some funny things that happen. So like when Tanya started coming to church here, she wanted a husband.
Bad.
Really bad. And I think she had kind of got to the point to where she was like, well, don't look like God is. And I was sitting up here and this dude walked in, and when he sat down, for whatever reason, I thought, I was like, uh-oh. Because he sat back there and she was up here, and for whatever reason, when I saw him, I was like, well, I wonder who that is. Because he sat next to Melissa. And so I was like, I wonder who that is. And then my eyes went over to Tanya, and I went, nah. It was like God said, Dad, there's her husband.
Will you let me know if you see the same?
But one of the things I told her, and one of the things that I told, because I used to get this from singles, the ladies, guys never concern themselves with finding a wife on the
Because
wife.
they don't have to
Well,
work
they
hard
still have
for it.
sex. If they become eunuchs and act like they.
Don't go there.
Don't
No. What I mean by that is, it's not that guys don't want to have a wife. They don't concern themselves with finding one because they know they have a lot of you to choose from.
But I bet if you take sex off the table and let them know that it's only a privilege for the marriage, then they would concern themselves with finding a wife more so.
No, because they would still say, I am outnumbered 8-1 by women I can't have sex with until I get married. I'm not worried about getting a wife. Whereas women tend to concern themselves with, will I ever get married? Most guys don't concern themselves with that because most guys at least believe that if I want to get married, I can get married in the next,
2 minutes.
And it's true.
I can get married. I'll raise my hand and say I want to be married. Somebody's probably gonna come. All right, so for women, what I always say is, it just takes one.
It sure did.
It just
Some of this
takes
biology though,
one.
some of this biology, because men are up in their 80s still having kids,
Yeah.
but with us, I mean, the eggs start cracking
Okay,
after
so
a certain amount of time.
look,
Scramble, died.
that's one you have to take up with the Lord. I can't explain that to you.
Hey, there's this lady in India,
She was 70 years old.
Okay, but she's outside of the business.
She's the exception, not the rule.
But
Most things.
my point being that, even when it comes to stuff like that, God is going to do what God is going to do when he wants to do it. I'm sure you wanted a husband years ago.
Oh, yeah, I thought he was coming to the Father's house. I knew he was coming into church.
She wasn't ready.
But
She
I
would've
wasn't ready.
ate him
I
alive,
would've
chewed his head off,
Spit him
spit it out. Yeah,
Okay,
she
so
wasn't
Sound like a
again,
Yes, exactly.
No, he
Again.
was
He
He
knew it.
Even if he came a year earlier, it would not have been ready.
so again, God knows what he's doing,
Amen.
right? So when God does things, he does things as he sees fit.
Perfect.
And we don't always know. But I will say to anyone that, there's something that you desire of God to do, here's the question you got to ask yourself. Is it biblical?
Amen.
Is it biblical?
Amen.
And if it is biblical, ask yourself this: am I biblical?
Amen.
So for every time that I get a single woman that says, I'm praying for the Lord to find me a husband, I always come back with, well, first of all, remember, it only takes one. Secondly, the Bible says a man that finds a wife finds a good thing. So are you actually a wife? Are you just a woman looking for a companion? Because there's a difference between a woman and a wife.
And there's a difference between a man and a husband. They never talk about that.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
I mean, the Bible does. I'm talking about society.
No, yeah.
Well, society doesn't talk about either one properly. So for me, it's like, and we'll get to it because we're going through Proverbs. But before we do the virtuous woman, right before that, and I don't know why it's always skipped. I don't know for what reason.
You know why?
Lemuel's mother, and Lemuel is probably Solomon. Solomon's mother explains to him what he needs to be in order to be a good husband. Then he goes into the good wife, right? So the husband actually comes first, right? So, when a man that finds a wife finds a good thing, right? But I don't have men running up to me going, I'm in search for a wife. What I get is women coming up to me saying, I'm looking for God to send me a husband. And what I always say to them is, if you got one, what you gonna do with it? No, what are you gonna do with it? Because your reason for having or looking for a husband may be that you're lonely. That's not a reason to get a husband.
God asked me that question. If I send you the husband and you have those kids, what's gonna happen to the husband? And I couldn't answer the question.
God ain't never sent me no question when I was
It was
born.
and I was like, at that point, I was like, Lord, teach me how to be a wife. Because I really didn't want a husband. I wanted kids. And when he put that question in front of me, it was like, okay, you gotta get to the point where you want the husband more than you want the kids.
I never wanted children.
Yeah, it's what the Bible says about being a wife, if you put that up on a wall, our society would look at that and go, no, that's just wrong. They would say that's just wrong. And so for Christian singles, I've always, and those of you that were in the single class, like I said, hey, you gotta be ready over here, and then for the ladies, I've always said, you've got to understand that there's certain attributes that you should have in the husband, right? Which means that every dude that come up to you may not be the guy. It may not be the one. If they don't meet this criteria, I'm not talking about you got a list of things and they got to be this tall and look this way. And
Ain't failed me.
and
I got rid of it.
but there's some things that you should know. So those and some of my stuff I know sounded silly. I told some of the single ladies, I'm like, you should watch them play a game.
Now that's
competitively.
True. That's true.
Watch how they are competitively. If they'll cheat
on you.
All right. If they get angry when they lose, if they play and they want to belittle their opponents, not just in a fun way, but really belittle their opponents, you probably got somebody who's gonna belittle you. If they win bad, think about that. They win bad. You know how you win bad? You win and you just, yes, you gonna dog them until they're ready to fight. I'm like, guess what? That same individual, that's that personality. That's the personality that you're getting. Right? I told Trinity, find a nerd.
Right.
I did. I said, you can find you a nerd. Right? Get you a good nerd. Because you know what? He'll put you first. He'll put you first. So,
Not all nerds.
Not anymore.
I'm just saying. It was in general. It was in
You
general.
go ahead, no game.
They still in demand.
More shy, they're not as willing.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. I mean, you can't go by, and this aesthetics. Aesthetics will get you in trouble.
Yes, they will.
Well, you probably ain't gonna marry the one you thought anyway, because I promise. I ain't.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you marry a gargoyle either.
No.
I mean, you can still see ugly and you sleep outside. You staring these people wrong, Pastor.
I am not. Look, you can marry somebody that looks good and hate them and hate their guts in less than a week. You could. And on the other thing, we don't all look good all our lives.
That's true. Except for me.
Keith, on
I'm getting better with age. I don't
living.
know.
You can say that all you want to, but you know what? I'm
You
gonna
must
put
have
it to
seen
you
them
this way.
before pictures.
Here's how I know God knows what he's doing. Here's how I know this. Beauty fades. And I believe that the reason God allows beauty to fade is so that people can concentrate on something else other than their beauty. Because when you're young, you think you're the hottest thing going? That's hard to break. You know the only way to break it? Fade away.
I ain't started thinking that till I got older. What I'm doing.
You still young.
I got that Benjamin Button.
No, you don't.
This crap.
Let her keep on living. Everybody looks fake. And after a while, you gotta sit with the substance of what was.
I was fat.
Of what was. And I was a good looking individual. I've gotten old is okay. Because if there's substance to it, if you picked right, then there's substance to it that you will have later on. There's nothing like seeing a couple that's been married 40 years and still just crazy about each other. There's nothing like it. Because for 40 years, after a while, you think conversation done got a little stale.
Yeah, because you start getting the same thing over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you would think all of this, but I think the one of the most beautiful things I saw was a couple that had been married 75 years or something.
Wow.
Yeah, they were both like 100, and he was still bringing her flowers, and they were just crazy. And they got married like he was 20 and she was 18, and they stayed married like 75 years, and they got interviewed, and it was like, well, what's the secret? And he said, I can't tell you the secret. I just loved her from day one, and I've loved her all the way through. And that's a wonderful thing. And I mean, you know what? She don't look like she did when they showed this picture of them back almost in the 1800s. And she was a gorgeous woman, but she's 100 years old. And he thinks she's just as beautiful as she can be. Aesthetics fade. But you know what doesn't? What you think about someone. That's the whole thing. If I can't talk to you, we can't have a conversation, your good looks are gonna fade.
Right.
I'm gonna get used to that.
So what do you do to keep it from getting that way?
Don't be
You
surprised.
talk. You talk.
But what if
At the
they
end-
shut down and don't?
You
what
talk
do you
more.
do?
You talk. That's what you do. You talk. You communicate. You get into this. Talk about him. Talk about him. Hey, I tell anybody, if you talk about him enough, it's gonna work. You know why I know it's gonna work? because you included him in. Where most married couples get in trouble is they exclude him altogether. They exclude him altogether, and then it's like, well, we have irreconcilable differences and we can't talk to each other anymore. Did you talk about God at all, other than, fussing at each other about God? But did you actually go in, talk about God, grow together in God, study the Lord, talk about the Lord, go to the goodness of the Lord, both of y'all in God? Do you know what ends up happening? I mean, it's supposed to be 3 of y'all anyway, not 2.
And when you can have a conversation with a guy about God, that is so attractive, because there were some cute guys that I dated prior to, and it was just like, ooh, they were so ugly because they couldn't have a conversation more than sports. It was like they could never go deep in the word, and it was just like, oh.
I've heard women say the ugliest thing is a man who's dumb as a box of rocks.
Agreed. I dated a guy in college. He was the most attractive guy I've ever dated. I didn't even know why he was talking to me. It was strange. And when we started talking, I was like, this is the dumbest person I've ever met. And he was so into me, but it never would have worked.
Right. You got to talk. At the end of the day, finally, you're going to have to have a
He
conversation.
ain't smart now.
So-
And he came, but he wouldn't know.
So my point is that when you do things God's way, it's an act of faith.
Yes.
It's always, everything you do is going to be an act of faith. Let's say you feel like, man, I picked wrong. Okay, but doesn't matter. Put God in it. You can't go wrong. If you put God in it, you can't go wrong. It doesn't, and I'm not saying it's always that's gonna be the big fix, but if you put God in it and put God first, then whatever happens, happens, and then you move on. But at the end of the day, if you don't put God in it, you have cut yourself off. You've cut yourself short. Don't cut yourself short. Put God in it. And then, let it be. But one of the first people you should look at is yourself. And that was my original point that I was telling to the single ladies. Look at yourself and ask yourself, are you ready? And I give you the big word. Are you ready to be submissive?
Oh, wow. Are you ready?
Be submissive.
That's very important.
That is it. That one right there, that'll tell you if you're ready to be a wife. Are you ready to be submissive?
Yes.
And if the answer to that is, not really, or if the answer to that is, if the wrong, stop right there. Because right for you that's when you go into this list over here. He's 6'4", and he look like Superman to me. I'll submit all day long. Okay, Christopher Reeves had an accident and ended up in a wheelchair. Are you still submitting? See, you submit to the office of husband, not the person of husband. Because God said submit to your own husband. He didn't say submit to that man.
But
Ain't no buts. Ain't no buts in there.
no.
Ain't no buts. Ain't no buts.
I just, marriage is hard. Marriage is really, really,
Never said it was
really
easy.
hard. But it seems like it's always stating that the woman needs to do this and do that, and then the man gets in his stagnant stage, and he doesn't feel that he needs to change, or he changes for a minute, and then when it gets to they think it's okay, then it's back to the same thing.
Okay, so here's the thing, and I will say this too. There is no woman anywhere that's going to change a man. That goes to the picking.
So, well, what are you supposed to do? If
Submit.
you didn't pick wrong.
Submit. It's the most powerful tool you have in the toolbox, and I'll tell you why. I will tell you why. Here's what God did in creation. God made a man typically, and this is gonna sound sexist, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. Y'all know me, I don't care. Because I can prove this biblically. God has basically made man the way he wanted to make man, he made woman the way he wanted to make woman. So what he did with a man is he kind of made him like a warrior over here. That's a man, think about it. A man's brain, because Tanya was in class with me when we found this one out. God designed a man's brain so that a man can only focus on one thing at a time. Right? A man has between the right and left brain, a man has fewer connections between his right and left brain than a woman does. A woman has twice as many. That's why women can tap in emotionally where men can't. And what ends up happening is a man can focus on one thing, but when he focuses, he does it very well. Prime example, almost every man you know has a habit of some kind, whatever that habit is, and they do it very well. They're consistent. If their habit is watching football, they can watch the mess out some football. And when they're watching football, every woman knows when a man is in his sport, with Brent, it might be basketball, you can't talk to him while he's doing that. But a woman can watch TV, talk on the phone, cook, mess with the child, and do all of that all at the same time. But a man can only do one thing. So what ends up happening when you submit, hang on, what ends up happening when you submit is it allows him to focus in on you. What ends up happening in most cases is because women struggle with submission, what they do is they say, I'm gonna make him understand me and I'm gonna make him do this, that, or the other. Because his focus in there, all you've done is interrupted his focus. And so now all he's gonna do is get angry. And when he gets angry, it may come out passive aggressively. And passive aggressiveness is the worst kind of anger in the world because that looks like he just doesn't care. Like he just doesn't care. And you'll hear this. He doesn't understand me. He's not trying to understand me. And it's like, probably not. Because in order for him to act right, God has to get him. And if you are interrupting God, guess what?
But how long you supposed to not interrupt? Because I'm just not understanding. It's still like the woman just has to step herself down to give him time, and she's not supposed to go a different way. She ain't supposed to want nothing else. And the man's like, oh, well, this is what God said. But God give you other, and people say he gives you avenues to go where you can get help and do this and do that, but we just supposed to wait until he said, okay, I'm gonna go get some help 3 years later.
If a woman comes to me and says, me and my husband, we need counseling, what do you think my answer is?
Go to the Bible.
No, that's not my answer. My answer is, yeah, I'd love to help you, but I need what?
Your husband's permission?
I need your husband to come to me and say that he wants the counseling. Why am I saying that?
Because you just be another man telling him what to do in his house. And he wants to
Respect
be
him
ahead.
as
Well, you go see a woman counselor, you gotta be a man. But you need help.
respecting him of the household.
You say he'd go see a woman counselor?
The woman can't see a woman have something to
Okay.
say.
Okay, well, Pastor, if a man came to you and said, we need counseling, is your answer still gonna be, I need to talk to your wife? Or
No.
we just drug along?
We
Because
just
the
drug
head of the
along,
household
because
said-
the head of the household said.
I'm sorry, say again. I was reading.
I'm sorry, you were focusing.
I
So
was-
my question, you were focusing on your one thing. Okay, my question, Pastor,
You asked me a
is,
question too, go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry, did I interrupt?
No, no.
Okay.
No, Brent.
No, he was just kind of reiterating what she had said, but he was saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So my question was, if the husband came to you and said, Pastor, my wife and I need counseling, would your answer
Be the same.
be the same?
I was,
need
is
your
she,
wife?
no, I would be,
Okay.
is she on board with it?
Okay,
That would be my answer, because if she's not, I gotta have both.
right.
But I don't get dudes. I'm sorry. I get wives. Wives come to me and say, you really need to get my husband in here.
That's
Oh.
because y'all don't see a problem unless it's trauma or
But
bleeding.
that's why my answer 99 times out of 100 is gonna be, I need him. And then the other thing that I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna meet at your house. You gonna come to mine or we gonna come in here? Cause I ain't gonna jump up in no man's house and tell him what to do. Okay, so,
I'm gonna ask about that later.
chapter 3 of 1 Peter,
Yes.
verse 1 says, wives, likewise be submissive to your own husbands. I don't know how we got on this subject.
Me neither.
That even if,
Listen.
listen,
I can't use this message at all.
listen, that even if some do not obey the word, they, here's the key, she walked out, without a word. Oh, hold on. Let me say this again.
Say it again.
Wives, likewise, be submissive to your own husbands, that even if some do not obey the word, they, without a word, may be won by the conduct of their wives. And what do you think the conduct is? It's the submissive nature of the Christian wife that wins over even an unbelieving husband. But the key, without a word. Without a word. First of all, we can't out-argue you guys.
Nope.
We can't. But see, that's a problem.
Y'all need to know.
Because if I can't out-argue you, you just challenged my manhood. You just took me down a notch.
From arguing?
Yes, absolutely. One of the hardest things for a man to swallow is to have an argument with the person that is supposed to admire him, and that person take them down a notch. When that happens, the warrior comes out. When the warrior comes out, crazy stuff gets said. Stuff that don't make no sense. Stuff that just it's crazy, because what's going on is you just punched me in the mouth. Yes.
I'm totally asking this question for other people in the room because my dynamic has changed. But how do you be submissive to a man that has absolutely no direction at all whatsoever? I mean,
Well, even if they
Wives,
they
let me answer that. Wives, likewise, be submissive to your own husbands, that even if some do not obey the word, that's no direction.
but even what
That's
if,
but that's it. That's no
no,
direction.
I'm saying, but what if you were with someone that obeys the word and the rebuttal is, oh, God'll fix it. Oh, we gotta do exactly what the Bible says, and it doesn't seem there's no work on their part. They just think that it's gonna get fixed because we praying about it, or I'm reading my word and the word say do this and do that.
but you're not taking the
Right.
So what do you think you should do?
Well, sometimes.
I'm gonna tell you what to do.
Okay. Well, you asked me.
I'm gonna tell you what to do.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you. I thought about what I asked you, and I'm just gonna tell you. When you're told that, say, okay.
But I
Now watch what I said. You're told that, you say, okay. It's no different than, honey, the trash is spilled. All right, I'm gonna take it out. Okay. 3 days later, the trash is there. Now, what happens after 3 days when trash is still sitting there? It stinks. You don't think you can smell it? Don't take it out. Don't overstep it. Don't push him. Don't remind him of what he said. He knows what he said. If he said y'all gonna get into God, here's what you can do. If he said God is gonna take care of it, hold up. I know you don't want to live with maggots and all of that, but as soon as you take the trash out,
Gives me now.
he no longer does it. Men are like kids.
I was just about to say
Speak on
If women
Speak
could
on
just, men are like kids.
I'm not married.
Yes,
Hey, I know I'm young, but I've watched a lot, and me being gone, but he's right. Men are like kids. We are
We
like
know
big
that.
kids. So if you like he said at the beginning, if you tell a kid that the stove is hot and he proceeds to touch it, he's gonna get burned, right? The trash thing. If you tell him to take out the trash, he doesn't take out the trash. Okay, that's your man. He didn't take out trash. He didn't take out trash. Now he got to deal with rats and maggots.
No, that I have to do.
And you know, we know y'all don't want to deal with it.
for better, for worse.
I'm out.
Yeah,
That's not.
but okay, so your kid, are you just gonna beat your kid?
Yes.
I feel like with this
So-
whole scenario though, we're putting too much on, we're trying to handle all of this on our own and
But that's
God
what-
has to step in and.
But God steps in
In his
when
own
we do this.
in the meantime.
That's the point.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
see,
Take it
the
from
most,
here.
you know, it's like, you're not just, you're not just saying, okay, but you're saying, okay, and then you go off and you give it over to
To
the
God.
Lord. Yes, and you
What
stay
does
on
the
your
Lord do
face
about
and
the
you
trash
fast and you pray and you.
But what is that? What is that? I'm sorry, maybe this is my lack of faith, and I'm not.
Hey, David here.
But what is the Lord gonna do about the
Okay,
trash?
Taylor, come on in.
No, it's not so much of the trash, it's deeper. Like the trash is just the surface. The problem is me and my husband are not communicating, right? And so that's what I'm going to God with.
So you're
I'm not
thinking
going to
because
God,
God's gonna
yeah.
fix
If
him
you
on
stop
Yeah, I'm
cooking
not
and
going-
stop being trash.
Yeah, I'm not going to God about, well, I know when I was married, and it's hard to talk about it because I'm divorced now, but I loved being married because
She did love being
I
married.
love being married, and when it was anything that like I'm single now, and I feel like right now I have so many things to be responsible for. Whereas when I was married, my focus was that man and my family, and unto God, that's what pleased God. And so anything that I didn't want to do, that I knew was going to please God, I'm immediately going to God, not saying anything about him, because I know he's got to answer to God. I'm going to say, Lord, whatever it takes for me to be pleasing in your sight as a wife, help me. Help me, give me patience where he's weak. You know what I mean? Give me patience in that area. If I'm supposed to be cooking dinner, then help me enjoy the heck out of cooking this dinner. And let them feel my love through me cooking. If it's sex, whatever. If it's gonna enrich my marriage, which is going to in turn give you the glory, then help me to be pleased. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't, I take that whole, whatever the issue was, that was just the surface. The thing is that what you got to do, Bach, is you got to go to God and tell him to help you and your husband communicate better. Because it's bigger than any of the issues. All the issues are irrelevant.
And stop, you can't look at him and find fault. Let me tell you why. Because if you look at him and find fault, this is the same guy that you thank God for forgiving you. So now you're saying, Lord, you stupid. So you don't so what you do is you say, you know what? I got issues myself, Lord. Let me go to you with me and let me pray for him. And have enough faith that if you will do what this says, I mean, I can pull a scripture out that will tell you specifically, shut up. Don't badger him. Hush. He knows. There ain't a man alive that don't know when he's not doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah,
Not a woman.
but when
Not
a
a
woman
woman.
stop caring
Not a
and
woman.
not wanting to fight no more,
But a woman who stops caring, here's my thing.
Dangerous.
Were you caring for God or were you caring for him? Who came first? If God comes first and you put your care in God, God will put the love for him back in your heart. That's God's job. See, it's funny. We pray to God to send to somebody, then we get them and we act like we got them. Like God didn't send them. And so I'm like, okay, I didn't put it this way. I don't think you made a bad choice. What you did was you invited God to prove himself. That's what you did. Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Well, he did prove himself, but okay, but I think I don't know about for everybody else, but like in my situation, I'm not gonna say toward the end, but in the beginning, I was praying, I was being dedicated, but I think for younger women, it needs to be more clear what the boundaries are because the Bible is not specific it's not very detailed on roles. So I was taking over things that I shouldn't have been taking over, not realizing that I was taking over those things. And it wasn't my place to do it, but it wasn't in a mindset of I'm trying to be in control. It was, he didn't know how to do it, so until God can figure it out, that's what I'm supposed to do. But he became...
Well, Nicole,
you
know whose fault that was, though? That's the fault of the church. And I'll tell you why. Because this says to the church, older women are to teach younger women.
I had no clue.
I
and
know.
Then he became dependent on me
it's
taking
but that's one of the
things.
reasons why marriages in the church, Christian marriages struggle, is because older women who know are not teaching younger women. We don't even teach our little girls. We don't teach our little boys. We're not teaching them how to be husbands and wives.
But the world is.
Yes, the world's got a whole different story for them. And so, that's why what I teach y'all about raising kids, like you're raising Keenan. And what I've said to y'all is, don't think in terms of Kenan. Think in terms of your grandchildren.
I do.
And then think of this. I gotta raise someone to be a
Amen.
good husband
Amen.
for somebody.
Amen.
Somebody, which means I gotta raise them to pick right, choose right, do right, so that my grandchildren have good parents. When you look at it from that focus, it helps you to better understand how should I be going about raising this individual? Because what's happening is we are growing up with a secular, romantic, idolized concept of marriage that does not exist.